こんな風だったっけ？うん、もうすぐ来てくれるよ、みんな。
Sakatara said that as though it was completely natural. And I believed it. Mom, Dad, Oni-chan, all my relatives, and those fun servants. And Maria One-chan.
私よ、エンジェよ。私は帰ってきたわ。
When I started my final journey to expose the past of 12 years ago, its goal had been abstract, and I hadn't understood. But now, I have no doubts. This journey was induced by all kinds of thoughts and fates over 12 years. A journey to end things, for me, Ushiromiya Anji. And a journey to end things, as the final witch of Maria Socia. I came here as the final daughter of the Ushiromiya family, and as the final witch.
お父さん、お母さん、お兄ちゃん、ごめんね。先にマリアお姉ちゃんとの挨拶をさせてね。
A strong gust of wind from behind urged me on. That gust took just my soul out from inside my body, to the vast forest beneath me. And though I couldn't see it from where I stood, I believed that it would fly me to the mansion on that day, to where everyone was, to where Maria One-chan was. And so, even though my body was on the top of the hill, a strong wind blowing against me, my soul was now certainly dancing through that sky. In the vast, vast sky of Rokkenjima. Below me was the green of many trees. But I can tell. I can comprehend the presences of my family and relatives, and all the servants. And Maria One-chan too. I could even comprehend Maria One-chan as a witch. It was vast, more vast than any space I had imagined up until now.
マリアお姉ちゃん、聞こえる？聞いて。
Angie shouted to the Maria that day, and that she had been through a long journey, and that she had learned just how much she had wounded Maria on that day when she was young. Having understood magic, I now understand everything about the world Maria wanted to show me. It is so warm, and overflowing with kindness and happiness. She had wanted to become even happier by sharing that world, but I had trampled it.
だから私、今こそ全部理解したの。魔法を理解した。私たちの魔法はきっととてもささやかで身近にあふれてる。でもそれは誰の目にも見えるものではないのよ。魔法とは、ええ、はっきり言えるわ。
Without love, it cannot be seen. Sorry, One-chan. I've already been excommunicated from the Witches' Alliance, but after all this time, I now understand how wonderful it is. And I know that after that day I wounded you, Maria Socia was transfigured into something different from what you truly desired. Back in those days, even magic that allowed you to vent your anger by cursing people was probably important to you. Your environment was unhappy enough for you to be allowed that.
でも、もうそんな悲しい日々は終わったよ。だからお姉ちゃんの魔女同盟を元の 優しいマリアージュソルシエルに戻そう。
The grimoire was in my hands without me realizing it. And the strong winds were rapidly blowing its pages one after another. It had been a kind world at first. What to do to create magic so that candy rains from the sky. What to do to create magic so that tomorrow's dinner becomes cream croquet. What to do to create magic so that tomorrow's weather is good when you go out and you have a fun day. New magics of happiness were created one after another, coloring her world with kindness. Those days were flitted through one after another, and the days and months began to flash by like memories. And the pages with drawings that were colorful gradually changed into pages colored only with blank ink. Eerie magic circles and demon summonings. Evil magic for harming people. What to do to create magic so that the class bully catches a cold. What to do to create magic so that you-know-who in class gets seriously injured and dies. What to do to create magic so that a bus with all the bullies on it falls off a cliff. Malicious magics were created one after another, filling the pages in her heart.
私がお姉ちゃんを傷つけたから、マリアージュソルシエルはこんなになってしまった。お姉ちゃんは黒き邪悪な魔女じゃない。白き無垢で無邪気な優しい魔女だったのよ。
Indeed. Not gonna pretend that I truly understand everything, but just like what Angie said here, the way you are now is not what you originally desired. Causing harm to people is not what Maria Sorcerer was supposed to be. I mean, I don't know if what I'm about to say here is right or not. Like, I always feel like I'm a bad judge of people and that I get things wrong. And if I am to say something stupid here, then I am truly gonna be really sad about myself, but I'm still not sold on the idea of everyone going to the Golden Land to achieve happiness. Like, I am open to the idea that the Golden Land means a lot of things, and not just one thing, but based on how Maria describes it herself, and not Beatrice or anyone else, the way Maria envisions it right now, it's not quite ideal. You, Maria, you have been wounded deeply by your mother and by Angie. And it is because of that you think that life in this world is not worth living. That there is no happiness to be found here. So, you think the Golden Land is the best thing for everyone, but it shouldn't be that way. Like, life is not supposed to be dark and heartless. Life is as happy as they make it out to be. Happiness can be achieved just as much as in real life as it can be in the Golden Land. If I am to think of the Golden Land as heaven. Even though I could be wrong in that, but it is one interpretation. So that is why I wanted to go back to how it used to be. To what Maria Sorcier was intended to be in the first place. Granted, like, no matter how happy or strong you are to realize that, it is still difficult to do so alone. Like, we are social humans in the end. Like, we cannot live alone for an entire life, so at the very least, let Angie help you. Let her be there for you so that you can see the good side of life. Like, she's trying to apologize to you for Pete's sake, so try to understand what she has been through and that she is not here to hurt you. Like, she's here to help you, Mario. So I hope that you can be open enough to let Angie apologize and that you can hear her.
私が元に戻してあげる。元のみんなを幸せにする魔法を世界中に振りまいていたマリアお姉ちゃんに戻してあげる。そのために私はここへ来た。運命に導かれてきた。お姉ちゃん、聞こえてる？その姿を私の前に見せて。
That voice rode an even stronger wind and was sent 12 years into the past. Then, the wind gradually ceased, and silence fell. Crunch, crunch. I could hear the sound of gravel being stepped on. Oh? I heard those footsteps, and was surprised at that miracle. Without a doubt, those footsteps were Mario Nechan's.
マリアお姉ちゃん。かすみよ。
Oh. Hi, Kasumi.
ようやく見つけたわよ。エンジェちゃん。
And before I knew it, Aunt Kasumi and her black suits, a total of 7 people who didn't resemble Mario Nechan in the slightest, were standing there, surrounding me. 7 people, eh? An interesting number. I felt like my voice had been just about to reach Mario Nechan too. Because of this guy's toxin, the magic got interrupted. Angie clicked her tongue at that, but Kasumi probably didn't hear it that way.
そのお花は亡くなった家族への？偉いわ。それ投げるんでしょ？いいわよ。それまで待ってあげる。
Before what? Angie could more or less guess. The way the black suits had their hands unnaturally stuck into their pockets made me realize that they were obviously in possession of handguns. This is a deserted island. There could be no more convenient place to dispose of someone. I have absolutely no interest in the family matters of the Sumadera family. But if I die, all that wealth will roll right into the Sumadera family coffers. Like me, they probably have a great deal of interest in it. Of course, the Shirumiya group has a stake in this too. Since that if the massive amount of stock I own suddenly got to the Sumaderas, it'll be pretty bad for the Shirumiya group as well. And so they've apparently gotten themselves embroiled in a secret feud over me. That's probably why President Okonogi gave me a Amakusa as a guard. Having Amakusa wait on the boat was a regretful mistake.
おばさん、いつからここで待ち伏せを？早朝からよ。おかげですっかり待ちくたびれちゃったわ。何しろ喫茶店もお化粧室もないからね。トイレもないからお上品に木陰で用を済ませていたわけね。仮にもスマデラ家の血を半分引いてる淑女がそんな汚らわしい言葉を使うんじゃないわ。やっぱりスマデラキリエの子ね。気品のかけらもありゃしない。
She grabbed me by the hair and forced my face up to hers. and then spat on it. My words are filthy, but her spit's not to be undone.
おばさんが私のことを話すといつも母さんのことばかり。私そんなにも母さんに似てますか？
ええ、似ているわ。その生意気そうな目つき、鼻も口もそっくりよ。自由奔放で無責任。歴史と伝統あるスマデラ家の重みなど何も考えず、自分勝手に家を飛び出したわ。おかげで私の人生はずっとその尻拭い。
まさにあんたの人生クソまみれね。
I was stepped on the cheek. My ear took a heavy hit, and for an instant my head rang. She pulled me around by the hair and threw me onto the ground. And without a moment's pause, she kicked the ground, covering me in sand. Here we go. Guess I'll have to sit through torture again for a good half an hour.
ああ、本当に姉さんに似てきたわ。その目つき、そのどこか小馬鹿にした目つきよ。はあ、思い出すわ、いろいろと。
哀れな人ね。きっと幼い頃から何かにつけて母さんに比較されて蔑まされてきたんでしょうに。そしてあんたは一生その惨めさから解放されやしないわ。
お前みたいな小娘にはわからないわよ。あんたのお母さんはね、何もかもを投げ出してスマデラ家を逃げ出した負け犬なのよ。その負け犬のせいで私がどれほど迷惑したことか。
あんたの迷惑なんか私の知ったこっちゃないわ。私の生まれる前の話をされても困るわよ。あんたの人生はいつ始まるの？始まりゃしないわ。いつまでもいつまでも永久に死んだ母さんに嘲笑われ続け、そのまま死ぬのよ。というか死ねば？なんで生きてるの？
この口の減らないガキが。あんたたちちょいとお茶をしてやりなさいな。
お任せを。口の利き方も知らねえクソガキが。少し勉強させてやるぜ。
The black suits dashed up to me and violently grabbed me by the collar and dragged me down.
私が一服終えるまでに適当に可愛いメイにちょいと身の程を教えてあげなさい。
Sumadera cussed me. She was a pitiable person, to think of it. To the outside world, the women of the Sumadera family were trained to be in a position to support and defer to the men in the prominent positions. But in actuality, strong leadership was demanded of them so that they could manage all the people under them. The role demanded of them was that of a female commander. Taking charge of the Sumadera family with all its proud history required an extraordinary level of commanding presence. It was an unimaginably heavy responsibility. Normally, this would have been demanded of Kiria. Kiria had undergone that harsh training, and Kasumi, as the younger sister, should have been able to just take it easy. No. In fact, she had lived like a lazy, selfish, benevolent princess, sneering at Kiria, who had been given the heavy responsibility. However, Kiria was suddenly disinherited. She had refused the fiancé her parents had arranged, and had gotten pregnant by her lover, Ushirimiya Rudolph. from the Sumadera family's perspective, even though the Ushinomiya family held a vast fortune, it was a family which had already collapsed, a family not in their league, and to become not even a legal wife, but a lover to the second son of that family. Normally, no one would be shown mercy for something so dishonorable, not even the daughter of the main family. They would wrap her up in a mat, stand a pole on it, and throw her either into the Pacific Ocean if the pole fell to the right of the sea, or the Sea of Japan if it fell to the left. But Kirie's punishment was nothing but disinheritance, an unbelievably lenient decision. After that, the Sumadera family began receiving preferential treatment from a section of the Ushinomiya group. There must have been some kind of backroom deal. In other words, Kirie took advantage of the Ushinomiya family's financial support to leave the Sumadera family openly. Kasumi watched it happen in shock. No. She even disparaged her dishonorable sister as a loser. But eventually, she learned that the heavy responsibilities Kirie had borne would be passed on to her. And then, for the first time, she realized that she had been outwitted.
あんたの母親のせいで私の人生はめちゃめちゃにされたわ。いいえ、一度殺されたと言ってもいい。あの日に私は一度殺されて地獄のような日々に突き落とされたのよ。
それまで人生舐めてきたツケじゃない。
口の減らねえ小娘だぜ。うら!
The black suit punched me in the gut, and I doubled over. But I was quickly grabbed by the collar and made to stand up again. As she continued to cold-heartedly look down upon Angie, Kasumi blew out smoke. The hard days after Kirie left were floating through her mind. Until then, she had been allowed to be simply a rich young lady, unrestrained and unaffected. Only Kirie, the older sister, had been strictly trained, and she, the younger sister, had been able to live as nothing more than a princess. Then, suddenly, everything was turned over to such a degree that her life tumbled and crashed.
私の人生も生活も生き方も何もかもを奪われたわ。事情を知らない親類からは姉さんの不名誉を理由にどれだけ蔑まれたことか。呪ったわ。あなたのお母さんを血を吐くほどに呪ったわよ。
そりゃ嬉しいわ。これからもよろしく。
A kick landed in Angie's socket, and she lay prostrate on the ground. Angie didn't stand up again, so she continued to lie there like a caterpillar, getting kicked every time she spoke up.
姉さんを後宮グループのパーティーで見かけたわ。あいつ旦那と一緒でとても幸せそうに笑ってやがったわ。私に全部を押し付けて自分だけ幸せに。
だから何？私に八つ当たりするとどうあんたが幸せになるってわけ？私に八つ当たりすると時間が巻き戻って歴史が変わったりしてくれるわけ？
あんたさっき言ったわね。 私の人生はいつ始まるのって。いくら恨んでも八つ当たりしても時間を巻き戻すことなんてできない。じゃあ私は死ぬまでこうして死んでもなお姉さんを恨み続けて？冗談じゃないわ。いつまで私は姉さんの亡霊に苛まれてなきゃならないのよ。だから考えたのよ。これを成し遂げたら全ての恨みを忘れてやり直せるってね。
And she was about to respond to this with another bit of comments, but stopped. In my eyes, it is useless. You doing this to Angie will solve nothing, and your hatred of your sister will continue to grow till the end of your life. Even if you're doing this. Because she would be kicked again if she responded. Even if Kasumi didn't say anymore, it wasn't difficult to imagine what she meant. Kasumi was thinking of bringing an end to her hatred of Kiria by taking revenge against her daughter, Angie. Talk about pushing your problems on other people.
ほら、そんなにこの島が大好きならしっかり深く埋めてあげるわよ。その若さで死にたくないでしょ。母が迷惑をかけてすみませんでしたとか言ってみたくはならない？
誰が言うもんか。エンジ様、ダメ！こいつらを挑発しちゃダメです。ここは表向きだけでも調子を合わせて時間を稼ぐべきです。くだらないプライドは燃えないゴミの火に出しとけってよく言うわね。天草さんは天草さんが来てくれればきっと。ダメ、あいつの姿は見えないわ。エンジ様のバカ、どうして天草を置いてきたんです？
I don't need you to tell me that, Mama. I'm already right in the middle of regretting it. I walked a long way to get here. The forest was very thick, and there's no way that the disturbance here would reach the boat. As Kasumi took her sweet time smoking that single cigarette down to the filter, I was continuously laid into by the black suits however they deemed fit. The moment I grabbed my head to protect it, the top of my head was kicked by someone at a bad angle, and my head filled with stars. And this feeling of stars flickering in a world twisted with gray was one I knew very well. My life was very similar to the ones Madara Kasumi led, because I was tormented constantly with all kinds of bullying under the guise of education and training, to make me a worthy successor to the Ushirimiya family. Yes, having the inside of my head filled with stars like this is a feeling I know well. When being reprimanded for some error in manners I seemed to have made, the lecturer always turned to whether I was fitting to be the successor to the Ushirimiya family or not. On and on about the honor of the Ushirimiya family and how important it was. By the time her rant reached that point, I forget what mistake I was being blamed for in the first place. No, actually, it was the same way for Aunt Eva too. After all, sometimes she would ask herself, what was I saying again? But in the end, she wouldn't be able to remember. I would say something like,
私が怒っているということは、きっとエンジェが何か悪いことをしたのだろう。なら、その悪いことが問題なのであって、何をしたかなんて今さら思い出せなくても問題ない。
There would be some ridiculous reasoning like that. And then she would continue punishing me. Yeah. Aunt Eva's punishments weren't something that would continue until I learned something, or acknowledged my mistake, or apologized. They would continue until Aunt Eva wanted to stop. So even this violence was a bit nostalgic. In a way that made me want to vomit, that is. I opened my eyes, and oh look, there's Aunt Eva. Right next to Kasmi, who's smoking her cigarette. I could see Aunt Eva, the two of them looking almost as though they were laughing at me together. When I think about it, even Aunt Eva's life might be worthy of sympathy. The responsibilities and pressures of members of the Ushirimiya family, which she had so often mentioned to me, were all things that she herself had suffered. Because people cannot voice insults that they have never been subjected to themselves. It was probably the same way for Aunt Rosa as well. As the youngest child of the glorious Ushirimiya family, she must have gone through many tough times. So, just as Aunt Eva acted towards me, and just as Sumadera Kasumi is acting right now, Aunt Rosa must have also have been the same. People push the suffering they have been made to bear onto other people. Otherwise, they can never escape from it. So on, in an eternity and perpetuity, the chain of suffering and sadness never ends. Blech. What a sad reality. Again, that's not how life is supposed to be, damn it. No. I guess when I try to say something nice or hopeful, like Ryukishi is gonna keep spitting in my face about the bad parts of humanity. And that is the reason Marionette-chan's magic was so incredible. With her magic, she did not have to bear the suffering from Aunt Rosa. That pain was probably pushed onto her. Its weight probably tormented her. But One-chan did not carry that burden on her own shoulders. She exercised it, and filled her world with happiness. So, I'm sure that even if Marionette-chan had had children in the future, she would never have pushed the suffering force down through the generations onto them. And the chain of suffering and sadness, which had been inherited by and forced upon each generation for who knows how long, was, by Marionette-chan's magic, broken. I mean, she still suffered, and she is now intent on going to the Golden Land. I wouldn't say that it is quite broken. Like if it were like what Maria Sorcier used to be, then yeah, I would have to agree. You will be broken at that point. And future generations wouldn't have to go through something like this anymore.
Nani? 私に何か文句でもあるの?
In the past, I would have snapped back and cancelled out her hatred with hatred of my own. No, I cancelled out nothing. The weight of that which had been forced onto her bears down hard on my shoulders as well. After all, even now, I hate her. So, now that I knew of magic, I looked at the human called Ushirumiya Eva again. What I could see through to was the sad form of a human, no different from me, who had lost her family and who bore deep wounds in her heart. Unable to withstand the pain of that torn heart, she was doing nothing except howling with a sad voice, like a lion crying in pain, like a child. It turns out, Ushirumiya Eva was also a person deserving of compassion. She had needed someone to understand the difficulties and pain of her childhood days. And she too, as the only survivor of the Rokenjima incident, who was faced with the inquisitive eyes of all society, who was publicly slandered, who had salt continually rubbed into her wounds, had needed someone's compassion. In order to let her forget her pain and sorrow for at least a moment, the Black Witch, the very same that possessed Aunt Rosa, taught her magic. It was the same magic of anger and sadness that Beatrice had taught Marione-chan when she was mourning for Sakutaro after he was torn apart. And that same magic, that witch, had surely dwelled inside Aunt Rosa too. So, I was wrong to hate Ushirumiya Eva. Perhaps I alone was supposed to have become her ally. And the only person in the world who could understand her. What did I say to her when I was young, when she returned alive all alone? Could it be that the way I acted towards her was as if she had come back by herself after killing all my family? I cannot believe it. Aunt Eva, who throughout my life has never been more than an object of and synonym for hatred, is turning into a human who I can't understand. And so, I looked right next to Aunt Eva, at the form of the Black Witch who taught her the black magic. Aunt Eva was crying. It was only natural. Not only did she have no one who would understand her pain of having lost her husband and son all at once, but even I, her only relative, insulted her, saying, "Give me back my mom and dad." I can make the excuse that it was the mercilessness of youth, but to her at the time, that was probably cruel enough to sever her parts last thread. In the following days, the talk shows and magazines publicly slandered her. The truths of her late husband's business and character, and even those about her beloved son, were denied. She no longer had anything left. She could do nothing but cry and howl, trying to forget the pain and sadness for just a few moments, because only while howling could she feel the slightest bit of release. And so, the Black Witch taught her how to howl. The one I hated was the Black Witch. The black magic probably did release her from that suffering for just a short time. However, it would never lift that weight from her shoulders. To the contrary, it would force that weight on further victims, filling the road with the weight of hatred. If Aunt Eva was to have a true witch nearby, one who knew of white magic, wasn't that supposed to be me? I had learned the magic to create happiness from Marionette-chan. If I could have saved her with that magic, might we not have built up a future with a completely different relationship? It very well could have been possible. I mean, again, one could attribute it to the fact that Angie was 6 years old at the time, and that her mind was still barely forming, and that, you know, her family died at that point, and she didn't even know how to handle something like this, because, again, a freaking 6-year-old. But it still stands. If she used white magic, she could have alleviated Eva's sadness. Like, Maria tried teaching Angie the core principles of Maria Sorcière so that stuff like this wouldn't happen in the first place. Like, I don't know. I just wish Maria didn't excommunicate Angie out of the alliance, though. Like, even if Angie did the mistakes that she did when she was 6 years old, Maria still should have trained Angie in the alliance. If that continued, maybe things would have been different between Angie and Eva. In fact, I'm pretty sure it would have been different if Maria continued to teach Angie magic. It's like an endless cycle of wounds. Kinzo affected Rosa's life. Rosa affected Maria's way of thinking about magic. And mostly because of that, Rosa excommunicated Angie without even giving her a second chance. And because of that, Maria was the very last one to sever the last threads of Eva's heart. And because of that, Eva ruined Angie's life as well, on top of that. All this time, I have hated Aunt Eva, so I never noticed the Black Witch beside her. Without love, it couldn't be seen. I didn't have any love for her, so now, finally, I glare at the Black Witch, the one I truly should hate.
Mieru. 私が憎むべきはエヴァおばさんじゃなかった。あんたよ。
すごいじゃない。人間の分際で魔女の私が見えるなんてね。それで、その目つきは何だと言いたいわけ？私が憎い？
憎い？ええ、憎いわ。でも、少し違う。ただ、悲しく思える。
悲しい？何言ってんの？いいじゃない、怒れば。思いっきり憎んじゃえば？
憎まないわ。あんたを憎むことは、エヴァおばさんの憎しみをそのまま受け継ぐだけ。私は憎しみを断ち切る。エヴァおばさんの苦しみを受け止め、それを払って捨てるの。
何悟ったようなこと言ってるわけ？ こいつ頭大丈夫？っていうか、へそでも噛んで死んじゃえばあんたら、もっともっと蹴ってやりなさい。顔とかはダメよ。気の毒な顔がマシになっちゃったらつまんないから。
The black suits persistently kick my stomach and back, as though they had been ordered to by the Black Witch.
やれやれ、答えないね。私をじーっと見ちゃって。私が憎い。憎いでしょ？私もよ。
Kasumi sneered at me, but for some reason, I had a feeling that she was crying behind that expression. She's had a life just as unfair as mine forced upon her, and the pain of that never ever heals. And the sad lion continues to howl, gasping in pain from the thorn he can't get out.
ほら、スマデラかすみ、見てごらんなさい。かつてのあんたがそこにいるわ。気分が晴れるでしょう。かつてそこにいたあなたが今度はこっち側にいるのよ。愉快でしょう。立場が逆になるのは。
本当に愉快だわ。なんでそんな顔ができるのよ、エンジェ。泣きなさいよ。泣きたいんでしょ？
そうそう、泣きたいに決まってる。泣かせちゃいなさいって。あの時のあんたは泣かされちゃったじゃない。だからこいつも泣かせてやりなさいよ。エンジェもいいのよ。泣いちゃえば。
泣きなさいよ、エンジェ。あんたの泣き顔が見たいのよ。泣いてごめんなさい、かすみおばさんって言ってごらんなさいよ。
そう、その言葉を言わせるのよ。あの言葉、辛いでしょ？自分のせいじゃないことを謝らせられるのって本当に辛かったでしょ？同じ思いをさせてやるのよ。そうすることであなたの痛みは和らげることができるの。そうよ、それでいいのよ。もっと自分に素直になりなさい。もっともっといっぱいに自分の感情を吐き出しちゃえば。
The Black Witch stirred Kasumi up, and Kasumi began to give herself over to that dark emotion. She was doing nothing more than turning her deep sadness into cheap booze and forcing it down, trying to forget for just a brief moment. The words Kasumi insulted me with were themselves sad, and I couldn't forgive the Black Witch for taking advantage of Kasumi's sadness. I had gone limp on the ground, which seemed to have sapped the black suits of their enthusiasm for kicking. Or maybe the kickers had finally gotten tired too. Kasumi hadn't ordered them to stop, but at some point the violence had halted. I was reflected in Kasumi's eyes, and they were burning me with flames of hatred. She had been tempted by the witch into doing that in order to relieve her own pain.
スマデラかすみ、 まだよ。まだまだ踏みにじりなさい。あなたの人生はこんなほんのちょっとの乱暴で許せるの？
許せないわよ。まだこれくらいでは許せないんだから。
でしょ？許せるわけがない。もっとよ。もっと憎悪の炎を。憎しみの炎でしかあなたは暖を取れないの。怒りと悲しみの雪原で凍えるあなたを温められる炎は憎しみだけなのよ。ほら言って。叫んで。憎しみの方向で自分を燃やし尽くしちゃえば。後ろ宮エンジェー！あんたを憎まなくちゃ私は生きてられないの。スマデラかすみ、あの花束を。これ死んだ家族への花でしょ、エンジェ。
The Black Witch grinned at me unpleasantly and used her chin to signal Kasumi to pick them up. Kasumi picked up the flowers I was going to offer, brought them all the way over to me, dropped them in front of me, and made a show of trampling them. Her expression was filled with hatred, and a frantic quality that simple hatred couldn't explain. It was as if trampling them over and over again was the only way to prevent the sadness inside her from reaching the bursting point. So the sound of her trampling was downright sad.
あら、この程度じゃ答えない？ならこっちは答えるかしら。スマデラかすみ、こっちを使いなさい。ダメ。それは。
The object the Black Witch pointed at was Marionne-chan's grimoire. Kasumi also noticed it, and picked up that book, which was heavier than it looked.
なにこれ。
読んじゃえば。お腹がよじれちゃうかもね。
Kasumi opened the grimoire, skimmed over the contents, and snorted derisively.
返して。それはお姉ちゃんの。
Of course, my hand couldn't reach. My stomach muscles was getting kicked by the black suits, and I curled up on the ground.
ほらね、この本はエンジェにとっての大切なものでしょ。大切なものをけなしてやりなさい。こういう子には殴る蹴るよりもそっちの方が効くんだから。あなたがそれを一番よく知っているでしょ。
Kasumi's face twisted for an instant, as though remembering something painful. But that quickly disappeared, changing into a scornful smile directed towards me.
なにこの気持ち悪い本。あんたが書いたの？
やめて。返して。見てよ、あの顔。もっとけなしてやりなさい。貶めてやりなさい。尊厳を踏みにじられる苦痛を教えてやるのよ。そうすることでしかあなたの苦痛は和らがないの。
何これ、恥ずかしい本。少女の時代に多少は占いの真似事に興味を持つこともあるけれど、これはちょっと行き過ぎじゃない？やだ、魔法だって。あんたあれでしょ、アニメとかのなんとかなんとかって呪文を言いながら魔女に変身するやつ。 ああいうの好きなんでしょ。痛々しいわ。
Cackling, Kasumi opened to a random page and showed it to the black suits. The black suits looked too, and guffawed. That laughter wouldn't wound me. But I couldn't forgive it. After all, that laughter was ridiculing Mario One-chan. I mean, you keep laughing it out, but deep down you wished for something like that too. The kind of magic that you see in the first pages of this book, that is. I don't hate Kasumi for exploiting Kasumi's unhealing anger and sadness. I cannot forgive the Black Witch. That Black Witch ate into Alteva, Smadera Kasumi, and Aunt Rosa, tormenting them for an eternity without letting their wounds be healed. I cannot forgive her. I cannot forgive the Black Witch.
何これ、傑作。お空から飴玉を降らせる魔法ですって。何々？お日様で清めたお水にお砂糖を溶いて、魔法の杖を浸して呪文を。何これ。痛い。
The black suits also rolled around, guffawing. Then, grinning, the Black Witch whispered something into Kasumi's ear. Then, after glaring at me with a grin, Kasumi took that page. Kasumi grabbed hold of that page, tore it out, crumpled it up, and threw it away.
ひどいよ。それはマリアの魔法。あら、そうなの？それはお気の毒。
It was one of the magics to summon happiness that Maria had made with Sakutaro. Anyone knows that making sugar water, coloring it with paint, and leaving it by the window isn't going to make candy rain from the sky. But after repeating that every day, one time when she got back from school, she found several pieces of candy scattered around that place. Oh, how happy must that miracle have made Marionette-chan. What care she must have taken of those candies, severing them during her nights all alone with Sakutaro, to distract herself from her loneliness. That magic which One-chan had created was torn out, thrown away, and disappeared. The entire miracle of happiness created by that magic, she tore out and threw away.
これも傑作だわ。晩ご飯をクリームコロッケにする魔法。次は何？ピーマンが美味しく食べられる魔法。これも生かすわ。バカバカしい。
それも破いちゃいなさいよ。どんどん破いちゃえば。
With a cruel-hearted, loud laugh, the Black Witch made her tear out Marionette-chan's magics one after another. She sneered at those happy magics, ripped them out, and threw them away.
やめろ！やめろ！マリア教の魔法を怪我すな！汚い毒素で怪我すんじゃない！
Maman cried and yelled, but she had no way of reaching Kasumi.
いいじゃない。怪我されちゃえば。魔法の奇跡？ 幸せにする魔法？ないない、そんなのないってば。痛みと苦しみはね、他人に押し付けてしか癒せないのよ。あんたは確か魔法のお友達とかいうやつだったわよね。スマデラかすみ、こいつのページを開きなさい。
これは何？魔法のお友達ですって？煉獄の7姉妹？物騒な名前。すごい速さで飛んで敵をやっつけてくれるんですって。エンジェ、あなたこんな魔法が使えるなら今すぐ使った方がいいんじゃない？くだらない。
The pages that wrote that the seven sisters of Prevathir were also heartlessly torn away. The pages themselves were just paper. They weren't Mamo's vest or anything. But the tearing, denying toxin burned Mama from the inside. Mama's face twisted from the heat and pain.
大丈夫、マモン。しっかり。これくらい平気。私よりエンジェ様の方が辛い。
However, Mamo's expression was twisted in bearable pain and humiliation.
やめろ、黒き魔女。どうして君はそんなことをするんだよ。どうして魔法を幸せのために使えないんだよ。
ああ、あんたも魔法のお友達ね。あんたも怪我してあげるわ。スマデラかすみ、こいつのページも探しなさい。
こっちは何？この下手くそなライオンの落書き。作太郎？変な名前。一番大好きなお友達だって。そうなの？これがあんたの友達？親友？このライオンが？ねえねえ。
本当に下手くそな落書き。こんなブサイクなライオンがあんたなのね。こんなのお友達にしてるなんて、後ろ宮マリアってこの頭のかわいそうさに呆れてへそでお茶が湧いちゃうわ。ばっかみた。へそ噛んで死んじゃえば。うりゅ。マリアをバカにするな。やめて。破かないで。ダメ。
There was a shrill tearing sound, and the page was filthily ripped out. The picture of Sakutaro that One-chan had drawn was finally ripped in half. Obeying the pair, the black suits laughed cruelly, and heartlessly trampled all over the paper that had been torn and thrown away.
Sakutaro, しっかり。僕、悲しくなんかないよ。 ただ悔しい。マリアのことをバカにされて何も言えない自分が悔しい。私たちは見えない人間にはいないも当然。私たちは必要としてくれる人間としか交流できない。だから家具。
Sakutaro and Mamo supported each other. They slumped down, sobbing. I couldn't stand it either. Only those who can see the world of magic can understand how wonderful it is. It can all be explained to humans who cannot understand. And so, it is mocked. If only you could show it. But you can't. Because in front of humans who are filled with the anti-magic toxin and who can't understand magic, magic cannot be used.
本当にわけがわかんないわ。この妄想日記、頭がおかしいとしか思えない。あんたのお花畑の頭の中が垣間見えて本当に面白いわ。気持ち悪い子。
あんたもマリアもそこのぬいぐるみと家具もね。
おかしいわ。あんた友達いないんでしょ。いっつも一人ぼっちでぬいぐるみがお友達なんでしょ。かわいそうな子。大丈夫。私にもわかるわよ。そういう生活わかるもの。だから私が認めてあげるわ。あんた本当にかわいそうな子よ。
So to you, she looks like a pitiful child. Yeah, I'm sure she does. If 100 people were to read One-chan's diary and grimoire, all 100 would probably get that same impression. I used to be one of them. But, you know, in spite of all that, One-chan still called this a world of happiness. Don't deny that magic, that happiness.
頑固な子ね、あんたは。いいわ。これで最後よ。あんたとマリアの信じた本当にくだらない魔法の根源を引き裂いてあげるわよ。スマデラかすみ、そのページを読みなさい。
なに？このカラフルなページは。なになに？大好きなママといつまでも仲良しでいられる魔法。
やめて！そのページだけは！
へえ、この魔法すんごく簡単じゃない？私でもすぐできそうだわ。こんなに短い呪文なら私にだって覚えられちゃう。やってみようかしら。
本当に簡単な呪文よね。いいわよ、やってあげなさい。みんなも吹き出しちゃうから。
With expressions that articulated from the bottoms of their hearts, the Black Witch and Kasumi puckered their lips in the most exaggerated way they could, and said it out loud. The Black Suit stared blankly, asking what that was supposed to be. Then Kasumi answered, cackling.
これがね、呪文なんだって。おかしい。
ほら、あんたたちもやってみれば？
black suits imitated that boring voice, making fun of it. Ooh. That was the incantation for the magic that would let her always be friends with the mama she loved.
何このバカみたいなの。う言うだけで家族仲が良くなるなら世界はずっと平和だわ。バカなうなり声。
こんなの連呼してたら頭のかわいそうなこと思われるのがオチよ。
バカじゃない
やめろ。その魔法だけはけなさないで。
One day when Marionette-chan and Aunt Rosa had gone on a picnic together, it was written that this was one of the 5 happiest days of her life. And One-chan was singing her mama a song that she had just learned from her. One-chan was happy to see that her mama was enjoying it very much. But partway through, she forgot the lyrics. But her mama was enjoying it so much, so she tried to sing it until the very end. With do. She sung it with fake lyrics, but her mama was very pleased. After that, remained as an invitation to remember that day she had spent in fun and happiness with her mama. Wow. So that is the version of the Even that has its origins in love, it seems. Of course, even though Aunt Rosa thought it funny at first, eventually she tired of hearing it, and later on started to scold One-chan whenever she said it. But the One-chan was a memory of a fun day she could never forget. So among the magics that Maria created, it was the oldest and the first. Kasumi stuck her fingernails onto that page too.
やめて、破かないで。そのページだけは許して。
ダメ。
With a shrill sound, a girl's world of happiness was erased.
これがあんたらの幸せな魔法なわけ？笑っちゃう。幸せになる魔法なんてね、あるわけないでしょ。
魔法はね、怒りとね、憎しみでできてるのよ。幸せってのはね、
自分の背負わされた憎悪を人に全て押し付けた時にのみ与えられる解放感を言うのよ。あんたたちの言う幸せなんて絵本の中にしか出てこないまやかしなのよ。
As Kasumi laughed her head off, she slammed the grimoire against the ground and stepped on it.
悔しい？ねえ、悔しい？
幸せの白き魔女さんたち、そんなに悔しかったら見せてみれば？あんたたちの魔法あるなら使ってみせればいいじゃない。魔法が使えない魔女なんて魔女じゃない。つまり本当の魔女は私たち。あんたたちなんて魔法の夢で現実から逃避しているだけのクソガキどもなのよ。
じゃあ、魔法を私が見せることができたなら、お姉ちゃんの魔法を信じてくれるの？
信じるわよ。魔法を使って見せることができたならね。
ならやってみろよ、このクソボケガキ！
Silently, slowly, I stood up. The sensations of this small world, such as the pain in my body, felt truly insignificant. Alright. Are you two finished? Did you use your turn to its fullest and milked the cow till it was dry? Did you beat the dead horse enough? Okay. Then I can finally say what I want to say here. Ripping the pages of the book or destroying the book in its entirety, while sad and disrespectful to Maria, is not the end of the world. The contents of that book, the memories, the significance of the magic, the meanings and all that stuff, it will always exist, no matter what you do to it. The kind of magic that Maria believed in, it won't be erased just like that. The magic that brings Saktaro and the stakes to life won't be erased. And the magic that Angie wants to believe in certainly won't be erased by those who do not believe in it. Not gonna hate you for using the flames of hatred to stay warm in the snowy lands of hatred and sadness, since that is all you have been taught your entire life, unfortunately, but that surely won't melt the entire snowlands. What Maria tried to do with Maria Saucier, it definitely can.
あら、まだ立てる元気はあったのね、大魔女さん。
立ち上がって何をしてみせるの？見せてみなさいよ、魔法。
魔法はあるわ。
はあ？この子何を言い出すかと思えば。あんたたち、今の聞いた？
静かに。へえ、面白いじゃない。半魔法の毒素を理由に、あんたたちはいつも奇跡の力を拒んできた。白き魔女マリアの弟子。見せてみなさいよ、魔法を。